This is what you'd call a historic moment in video or film history, a product that has the potential to change the industry, just as the introduction of color did in 1916 or sound in 1927.
Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet.
They transformed forever the way not just how people watch films at the time, but the entire industry. Only time will tell this time around, but if I was Canon, Sony, Nikon or any other manufacturer of mirrorless or DSLR cameras, I'd be looking at the iPhone 13 range and be very worried. Because this phone, and in particular the cameras inside with the new cinematic mode, could revolutionize the way films and content are filmed. Okay, so what all these things have in common? Can you guess? These are things that have been cannibalized by the iPhone since it first came out in 2007. And there are probably way more than you can see in this list. These are things that at some point were used in everyday life by pretty much everyone. The iPhone has gradually disrupted, ruthlessly obliterated, or essentially killed off outright so many things that we thought we couldn't imagine life without. And these things, they're gone. And if they're not gone for good, they're pretty much reduced to a footnote now. There are things in this list that we still use today, but nowhere near the levels that we did 15 years ago. By simply creating a better and simpler product, Apple has shifted the interest into their platform and products. They've already destroyed the point-and-shoot camera market by a whopping 90%, and now, with the iPhone 13 range, I think they're about to start taking on the mid to low-end DSLR mirrorless camera market. Because what the cameras in this phone can do in such a compact size, honestly, is amazing. You've probably heard a lot by now about the new cinematic mode, something we've been requesting Apple for years. Well, they have now finally released it, and even though it's a first generation software, I can tell you the results are really good. And if you stop and think about what it's gonna be like in 3, 4, 5 years time, if I was a camera manufacturer today, I'd be taking a seriously good look at what I can offer to compete against it, but not just today, but in 3, 4, 5, 7 years time. Because cinematic mode, with all its limitations as a first generation product, it actually gives you some pretty amazing results if you know what you're doing. Right, so this is what I need to carry with me to match what the iPhone 13 offers today. A camera body, a 16 to 35mm wide-angle zoom, a mid-range 24 to 70mm, and I may as well throw in a 70 to 200mm because the iPhone can zoom into an equivalent of 234mm. Add to the mix all the batteries, memory cards, cables, accessories, and a decent tripod, and you can clearly see why high-end gear is not something the average person will carry or even want to carry around. It honestly is back-breaking stuff. You can now pretty much get all of this in just this compact size. And yes, up until now, you could totally argue that the images from an iPhone would look nothing like those that you get from a camera with interchangeable lenses. The depth of field was simply too large, and there was no way to match those amazing images with shallow depth of field or blurred background. And the truth is, you just couldn't argue with that. There was no way around it. If you wanted that blurred background, well, there was no other way. You had to film with interchangeable lenses and all the shenanigans that go with it. But now, there is the cinematic mode. And although it still feels far from cinematic, for instance, you can't shoot at 24 or 25 frames per second and you're limited to just 30, which is not a frame rate I would call cinematic, the results you get for the first generation software are simply phenomenal.
It's quite tough. I mean, in the beginning, facing the crowd, facing the people, expose yourself to, the public is a bit like kind of, eventually it's lonely. You get to get confidence and talk to people, entertain them. So eventually you make them stop, you make them enjoy the music, you play. But to be fair, what I do is like playing every day. So I play at home. And I say, why not? I'll just go outside and play outside. People is really humble, is really generous. I'm always quite surprised because it goes really well actually. It makes you feel like good, you're doing something good for the people. People is like enjoying London. All along the ride. All along the ride.
I won't lie to you, the iPhone 13 cinematic mode is, for all intended purposes, what I'd call a first generation phone. To be frank, to save you hours of watching other reviews, if you're not into cameras, creating content, or anything in which the new improved cameras on this phone can be of any use to you, I don't think this is a phone worth upgrading to if, for instance, you already have an iPhone 12. Bottom line is, other than a few tricks here and there, the iPhone 13 is all about improved cameras. So if you're not that bothered about that, stick to the 12. You won't be missing out on anything. And talking about the cameras, let's be clear here. The telephoto lens is only useful in full bright daylight. Forget about using it in low light or indoors where there isn't plenty of light. It's a great lens to have, and in the right lighting conditions gives you really nice images. But I can't see myself using it very often because, in all fairness, it's even worse than the telephoto in the 12 Pro Max. You do get cinematic mode in the telephoto, and you can see the potential because it looks really good, but you wish it was of the same quality of the main one. You would then really be able to use this lens. The ultra wide, on the other hand, you can tell right away it's a much better lens than before. In the 12 Pro Max, it started to fall apart the moment light was beginning to drop, even if just a little. But in the 13 Pro Max, essentially, the ultra wide matches the quality of the main wide on the 12 Pro Max. So that is already a really big improvement and clearly noticeable. I genuinely love the quality of the ultra wide lens. And the fact that they have now added a macro feature to it, this is awesome because you can now literally get right up close to anything and get some pretty cool shots. Now you might not do much macro recording, but this is really cool if you do reveal shots where you move the camera from behind something to reveal a location, for instance. The phone now can focus on the wall or whatever you are behind, and then as you move to reveal, the focus will shift to the location or whatever it is that you want to end the shot with. Do not underestimate how cool this is and also how difficult it is to get this right, even with the best gear and lenses. The fact that the phone can do this pretty much automatically without you having to do anything is brilliant. The main wide lens is still by far the best lens in the phone, and it has been improved massively from the main wide on the 12 Pro Max. This is a really good lens, and you're probably gonna do most of the filming on it. Even in low light, you get brilliant images, and honestly, it holds up really well. And there is one thing that I really like, is that for the first time you can now easily add or edit metadata to the clip when you press the info icon when you play back the recorded video. This lens is phenomenal. I'm always amazed at how much the iPhone can capture in such a tiny lens. It really is incredible. Although you still have the annoying lens flaring, especially obvious at night or when there are loads of lights around. It's so freaking annoying, and I really hope Apple can address this issue in the iPhone 14. But the main thing that's got everyone raving about is the cinematic mode. Let me tell you, it's not perfect, and there is still a lot of room for improvement, but for the first generation, wow. If you know what you're doing, you can get some really cool results. My advice to get the best results is to stay away from f2.8 and set it to f8 or f9. You could go a little lower to 6.3 or 7, but anything lower than that and you can clearly see the limitations. Cinematic mode is not quite there. Still, I never quite understood why suddenly everyone is using fully open apertures with lenses. Nobody in the film industry does that. If you get a lens that is, say, t1.3 or 1.2, you probably want to film at t2 or 2.8. If you go back to actual films, you notice that you hardly ever see the totally out of focus backgrounds that people on YouTube seem to favor. But the coolest thing about the cinematic mode is that even if you get it wrong on camera, and you probably will as the iPhone seems to favor an f2.8 as the default f-stop, you can easily change this later when you play back. And this is so amazing. Trust me, this is really helpful. I mean, it can be a pain if you have to go through all the shots, but to have the ability to go later and choose where you want the focus to be, man, this is some seriously good stuff. You can even do focus pulling after you shot the clip, which is mad if you think about it. And it's so easy to do as well. You just tap on the screen and you'll see it happen right in front of your eyes. Honestly, this is mind-blowing, and the quality is really good as well. To have this level of control once you finish filming, we're not used to this, and it's definitely gonna change the way people film, edit, and process their clips. I'm totally blown away by this. It makes it almost impossible to get it wrong. Even better, you can now easily focus track a person's face. something that before it was impossible to do, and it's a feature that you could only get in expensive mirrorless cameras. You just tap on the person's face and that's that. The iPhone will keep that person's face always in focus. This is a mega improvement and what no one expected. I can already see the iPhone 14 next year allowing this feature and cinematic mode with all three cameras at 4K and at 24, 25 and 60 frames per second rather than just the 30 and 1080p that the 13 is locked at. But you know what? I kinda like it on 1080p because the footage is still sharp, but it doesn't have that ultra sharpened look that you get from the 4K cameras, which is such a giveaway look. The cinematic mode on 1080p sort of softens the image a bit, and to me, it actually looks more pleasant to look at. The other incredible feature that makes this phone so unique is that for the first time, you can record on ProRes. And this is a game changer because not only the footage looks much better with a lot less compression, but the files are so much easier to edit. Now, I recommend you shoot on ProRes LT rather than the HQ. The difference in quality is negligent, but the file sizes are way smaller. Given the fact that the data port is still the USB 2 Lightning port, I'd stay away from ProRes HQ. That is unless you are happy to wait for several hours for the footage to download, or you're doing some sort of green screen or similar where you really need as much detail as possible. But the fact that you can record on a professional codec on this phone, I don't think people realize how incredible this is. This is a better codec than some mirrorless cameras record on. And this is a codec that cameras like the Sony a7S III, the Alpha 1 or the FX3 record on. So that gives you an idea. Even the real pro cameras like the Arri Alexis record on ProRes. And before you say, come on mate, you're comparing apples and bananas here. I'm just trying to give you some perspective on how much better these cameras and lenses are compared to anything we've seen before. I'm not suggesting here that the iPhone 13 is better than cameras and lenses worth hundreds of thousands. Far from it. Those cameras and lenses cost what they cost for a reason. They are amazing. But they cost a ton of money. When you look at the size and weight of those cameras and you look at these, well, you can clearly see why I said that this phone is going to be historic. Because let's face it, if you have the option to either carry a fully loaded camera bag or a phone in your pocket, what would you really take? What Apple is doing is lowering the entry bar for anyone who wants to create amazing looking footage without having to use the expensive stuff. Now, does the footage from an a7S III or FX3 with proper lenses look better than the iPhone? Of course it does. Come on, let's be honest here. The iPhone is not quite there yet, by a stretch. But given what Apple is giving you today with this first generation phone, will you say the same in 2, 3 or 4 years time?
What is so special about Tango? Well, funny enough, right? How about I read you something that I got first thing this morning? Right? Hands down, the best haircut you can get in London, plus great look and vibe in the shop. How's that? First thing in the morning, 5-star. Right. So I guess that says it all, no?
It does.
Great atmosphere, great vibe, best haircut in London. Say no more. Let the clients see the bottom line. Secret door to where fun happens downstairs. This is for VIPs only. It's called the White Room, right?
That's really nice.
So that's what's behind the secret door. See? No ordinary barbershop.
And let's not forget the stabilization. It's pretty phenomenal. I have genuinely been impressed by this. You still need a gimbal if you want to do certain shots, but for walking, if you do it slowly, the results are very good. In cinematic mode, the processing itself is done after you stop recording, and you might think it's a bit wobbly when you're recording, But then you play back and it's super smooth. I am well impressed by this. For shots like going from the ground up and complex shots, you still need a gimbal. But holy cow, for a lot of shots you'd never guess that it was shot handheld. So can this camera be your main camera on a professional job? Hell no. Well, depends on the budget and the client's expectations really. But could it be your big camera? Absolutely. For YouTube, is it good enough? I'd say yes without hesitation. Let me remind you of a film called 28 Days Later, a film that was shot back in 2002 on a mini DV camera and film lenses. That camera was standard definition, no HD, and the film was so successful that it literally got the zombie genre off the gutter nearly 2 decades ago. The thing is that once a viewer starts watching a video, as long as it's well shot and he's engaged with the story, he won't tell the difference as to whether it was shot with a low-end or a high-end camera lenses. If you grab the audience attention, nobody's gonna be pixel peeping your footage. And this is what this phone allows you to do. It allows you to leave behind expensive and heavy equipment and literally run with a camera that fits in your pocket. Literally. I can't stress enough how mind-blowing this is. For the first time, you can be confident that you can shoot something as wide and flat as you want with a brilliant 12mm ultra-wide, or as close and intimate as an 85mm cinema lens would look. And let's not forget that you can use cinematic mode with a telephoto lens as well. And although it's the weakest lens of the lot and you need a lot of light to use it, if you film outdoors in daylight, it does look good. It's not as good as the main wide on the phone, of course, but if you don't go to the extreme of f2.8 and keep it around the f7 to 9 or less, you can get very good results. This phone is going to change the way people buy equipment. Maybe not now, but it will in a year, 2 or 3. I can totally see a near future where someone is starting out in the industry and wondering whether they should upgrade their gear and buy cameras and interchangeable lenses. They might just look at the iPhone and think, well, for now, this is good enough. And that is the scary part of all of this, because this is just the start. This technology is going to get better and better every year, and now that Apple has taken the genie out of the bottle, they're gonna make sure that they put the R&D department into this and keep up the development, because they know that the cameras are one of the main drives for people upgrading their phone. I can totally see a future, and not too far, where many people just won't bother buying expensive, heavier and yes, better lenses and cameras, because you'll probably be able to do most of it in a device that fits in the palm of your hand. I mean, think of cassette tapes and vinyl discs in the 80s and 90s. When CDs came out, they were gone within 5 years, and how it all went to pop when the MP3 and the iPod came out, and how eventually the iPhone and streaming killed off the iPod itself. When was the last time you bought a CD, watched a DVD, let alone buying a vinyl or a cassette? Hell, depending on how old you are, do you even know what I'm talking about? This all happens so quickly, and I think it could well happen to mirrorless and DSLR cameras with interchangeable lenses. I might be wrong, and there will always be a market out there, and I own a good few expensive Canon lenses and cameras, so it's not like I don't stand to lose out. It's definitely interesting times, and anyone who creates content should be really happy that companies keep innovating and pushing the envelope. Apple is certainly a safe bet going into the future, and I can't wait to see what the iPhone 14 brings next year. For now, the 13 Pro and the Pro Max are amazing camera phones that I totally recommend, and you'll find a link below if you want to buy one. If you already have a smartphone and wonder how creative you can get with it, I have a video appearing just about here that gives you 10 cool and unique shots using just a smartphone, a gimbal and a monopod. It's worth watching, and I'm sure you'll get some inspiration out of it. And with that being said, smash the like button if you liked and find this video helpful, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next video.